Okay, so let's move on to the highly relevant filter.
Mm.
Now, this looks really, really sparse, and I'm going to apply the filter, and in the background people will have just seen all of these keywords come up. So I know a little bit about this, but why is, first off, what is the Larry, and why is it greater than 60? And can you also explain it's highly relevant to what?
Oh, that's great. Okay, lots of ideas there. So it's highly relevant, first of all, to your initial keyword, your email marketing keyword, which is the theme of this drill, right?
Yep.
So Larry is an algorithm that uses both LSI and Bayes. We collect a corpus for LSI calculations that are particularly germane to your original theme, to email marketing in this case. And then we run the LSI and Bayesian algorithms against that corpus, and we utilize both of those ideas to create Larry. And that's a long and involved algorithm that I don't quite understand well enough to explain the whole thing, but we do have it documented. So
Well, what I was going to say there, Sue, is straight away 3 things that came out if this was the first time I'd used keywords by Network Empire, and what am I learning? Can you tell the people, first off, what LSI is, then a brief overview of Bayes, and then what's a corpus, and why are those 3 things so important to Larry?
Okay, so LSI is latent semantic indexing, and Bayes is a Bayesian algorithm. And those 2 ideas are used to analyze speech. And the way that that speech is analyzed is through an example of speech, which is a corpus. So a corpus, in our case, it's a bunch of documents all collected. Any corpus is just a bunch of documents, but the documents that we use are the top 100 results of Google and Bing and Yahoo, because if they're the top 100 results, they must be particularly germane to this idea. So we collect all of that, we throw it together, we make a corpus out of it, and then we apply the latent semantic indexing for each of the keywords that we find for this theme against that corpus to determine how relevant each of the keywords are for that particular idea, that seed term that you started with, email marketing in this case.
Okay, so Larry, in this case, it's proprietary to keywords by Network Empire, and where that number in this particular algorithm is greater than 60, would that same number be produce the same kind of general results in a different seed term? So if I was to start with email, would 60 greater than 60 be as relevant for a bigger term or a more niche term than it is for this mid-level email marketing term?
You know, it's such a fascinating thing. So Larry is calculated for every single drill as a whole, and it's a scale of 1 to 100. And every time you add a keyword or subtract a keyword, it actually changes the Larry rank for everything. So when you import keywords, we go through and we recalculate Larry for all of the keywords because you've just weighted everything differently. So generally speaking, stuff above a 60 is going to always be fairly relevant. You'll find a few things in the 60 to 70 category that are like, doesn't really apply, but most of the terms above 60 are really cool terms. By the same token, most of the stuff below 10 or below 15 are really very tangent, and you kind of go, interesting. You'll find a few good keywords in there, but most of the, and those keywords are just super niche-y. They're used so infrequently that they don't show up in the corpus very often, so they get a really low score, but they're expert verbiage, hence they don't show up often, but they are germane. So this is where LSI and Bayes are pitted against each other, because Bayes is a much more broad calculation. It's actually calculated against a very generic corpus, whereas LSI is calculated against the specific corpus that we bring back for email marketing in this case. So you get those two to play off of each other, and that's how we can determine what's so specific for this particular theme. We can do such a really good job of it. So in this case, if you find that 60 doesn't work for you, you can tweak that number higher to get more relevant terms. Above 90, you'll find a whole bunch of synonym type terms.
Mm-hmm.
Between 80s and 90s, you'll find a bunch of really good silos. And just above 60, you'll find just a bunch of really good ideas. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really good explanation. So just to sum that up, if people later on are creating their own algorithms, the keyword sort of Larry would be one of the numbers that they change to really affect how relevant the keywords they're bringing back is.
Yes.
That would be the first stop. Awesome. That's really good.